So this is my friend here and former neighbor, Leroy Yoder. Uh, when I was living here in Holmes County, in the home that we built, it was just across the woods on the other side there. And we would go back and forth, spend time together here, Leroy and his wife, Sarah. Uh, Leroy is from the Amish community here in Wayne County. And we've had a lot of good times together. But I'm doing this interview today with Leroy because he accomplished an outstanding feat. Uh, about 2 years ago?
2018.
2018. He hiked the Appalachian Trail the entire distance from Georgia to Maine. And how many miles is that, Leroy?
Approximately 2,200 miles.
2,200 miles over mountains and lots of other obstacles.
Definitely. A lot of rocks, valleys, and streams to ford.
Amazing. So what's the name of the town in Georgia where it starts or close by?
It starts at a place called, man, I lost on that one.
It's northern Georgia.
Yeah, northern
right?
Georgia.
I mean, people can Google where the spot is.
Yeah.
And then it ends up in Maine.
It ends up at Baxter State Park in Maine.
Wow, 2,200 miles.
2,200 miles,
right.
Yeah.
So I want Leroy to tell us today what inspired him to even think about hiking the Appalachian Trail. What caused you to get interested in this?
In an article in the National Geographic when I was like 14 or 15 years old, there was an article about a guy who hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, and I was so intrigued, and I thought, wouldn't that be something? And I've always enjoyed stories about adventure and people just doing different things. So anyway, a few years later, they did another article on the Appalachian Trail. And I thought, wow, I'd like to do that, but never expected that I'd have the opportunity to do that. So
wow,
that's what inspired me to do this.
Mm-hmm. So that was when you were 14. How old were you when you actually did this in 2018?
50 years old.
50. So what would a 50-year-old do to prepare for this kind of trek?
There's only so much you can do because who has the time to walk 10 hours a day in order to get ready for something like this? But as far as getting ready for the trip itself, I spent 2 years researching on gear and how to do lightweight, try to get my pack weight down to a certain size with or a certain weight with being cost effective as well.
So what kind of pounds were you carrying?
Approximately 30 pounds.
30 pounds.
Without food.
Okay. Without food. So you'd come off the trail every day and get something.
I would about every 4 to 7 days I would get off trail for food.
Wow. How'd you get water? Is there places
streams, little springs coming out of the side of the mountains. So I even got water out of a mud puddle one time.
Did you have a little water purifier or something?
I did.
Yeah, I've seen those. Somebody gave me one years ago where you could take dirty, muddy water and run it through this little thing and it would drinkable.
It works great. Yeah.
Wow. So you did 2 years of kind of research. I remember talking to you when you were thinking about doing it or hiking some, when I'd stop in here. And quite honestly, I was like, he's really going to do this? Are you?
Yeah, I really wanted to do this.
200 miles like Leroy?
I really wanted to do this.
Yeah, and of course, Leroy, we know that all kinds of people start this. And so I just didn't know. I mean, like I wanted to believe in my Amish neighbor here, but
I didn't want to let you down either.
but I know that the percentage of people that actually complete that are very low. So do you know those numbers of how many start every year and how many actually complete?
Approximately 4,000 people start every year, and only roughly 20-25% complete.
It's that high? 25%?
Yeah, about 20-25%.
About 1,000 people complete.
800 to 1,000 people complete. Yeah.
So you had a 1 in 4 chance.
Yep, I did. Yeah.
But you were the
the
few, the proud, the Marine, the Appalachian Marine.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's great.
I didn't feel
that's
that
amazing.
Proud of it,
At 50 years of age, though, how many people complete it that are 50 years old?
You'd be surprised. There are actually, I didn't expect that many older people on there, but I didn't see a lot of 50-year-olds on there, but I did see quite a few 60 and older retired people on the trail. So,
well, maybe that stands to reason. These people have,
sure.
they have time,
And
money, and no
retired.
children.
Yep, retired.
That's what I say about my trips to Israel. So many people go on it, probably 75% or more are over 55 because, time, money, and no children.
I believe, yep.
So yeah, but still, an endeavor for a 50 plus, in age person to complete that trip. So I guess I've got some questions relative to the difficulties. Like, I want to hear what your high point was, with exempting, of course, the last step. But what the high point was and what the low point was. Now, if you're going 2,200 miles, why don't we start with the low point?
Oh, with the low point, very good. The low point was all the rain that we experienced, and we had record rainfalls that year, and I was constantly
record rainfalls.
Yes, and so we had to constantly wet. I mean, putting on wet socks, shoes, pants, shirt every morning. It really got to you mentally. Yeah. So I complained to a hiker about that, and this hiker just said, "You're only wet on the outside." And that changed my view of that.
I don't like being wet on the outside unless I'm taking a shower or swimming. But it's a mental thing.
Yeah,
it's a mental battle.
It changed my mental approach to the whole trail.
I think Paul Stutzman talked about this a little bit in his book, from Berlin, the Mennonite guy that did this. And he talked about, especially toward the end of his trip, I think he got into some real mud and rain and swamps, rocks, and it got really depressing for him. But yeah, it's a tremendous physical battle, but the mental battle is probably where it's won or lost, right?
It is. It really becomes a mental battle, because after you get 700-800 miles in, then you're physically pretty decent shape, but then after that, it's a mental game.
Did you feel yourself strengthening rather than weakening as you continued?
I did. And it got more pronounced at the further north I got into the northeastern part of the trail. I could tell when I had a lot of good food. When I got into town, I'd usually eat and resupply. My strength would go up, and after 2 or 3 days on the trail, I could feel my strength really ebbing.
So instead of saying you hit a low point at some spot, you had kind of this continuous nagging problem with rain, and so that was just the biggest negative of the trip.
That was the biggest negative of the trip.
Did you ever feel lonely?
Not really. No. Never. I did on the first 800-900 miles. Around that point, I got homesick.
We're talking about walking people. The first 800 or 900 miles, I had some difficulties with loneliness. He sounds like Daniel Boone for 2 years in the woods of Kentucky.
Being lonely was definitely a low point as well. Missing family and the grandkids. Around 800-900 miles. If you'd have seen me coming down the trail, tears running down my face, experiencing loneliness, that was it.
How many weeks were you into the trip when you hit that spot?
I would say that was towards the 1st of June, middle of June.
So when did you start? And
March 28th.
You started March 28th, and it took about 5 months. Is that right?
That is correct.
And you finished in
September 17th.
All right, and you came off the trail twice for less than a week or less.
Yep.
Okay, for a wedding and then to finish up some business back here, but then went right back. Okay, so you were gone a while till this lonely spell hit you.
Yep, that's
but
right.
You got over it?
I did. I kept on going. It was just I knew it was part of an emotion that you had to face at some point in time.
Yeah.
Almost everybody faces that.
And I go overseas sometimes for 2 months, and I get a little bit lonely for home,
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
5 months with just a little intervals, wow. That's part of the mental battle, right?
It is.
Yeah.
But you know that it's going to come, so you kindly mentally prepare mentally prepare yourself for that, but still, when it hits you, you just can't. You can't. You can't control it.
Yeah.
You just work through it.
I want to digress just a moment here, but how many miles would you say you averaged a day?
Total average, I think, was 13, 14 miles a day.
Yeah.
And
Right.
in the first 6, 8 weeks, only doing 8 to 12 miles a day, and then towards the end, I could do 20 miles a day, and my biggest mileage day was 28.
Wow. 28. Yeah. So that's moving.
Yeah, it's a long day. It makes for a long day.
So tell me about the high point.
The high point,
I mean, or what was the best part of this experience?
the
Maybe.
best part of this experience, I thought it was going to be the trail. It ended up being about the people. It was amazing. All the people that I met from Africa to Sweden,
Wow.
Denmark, Australia, from all over the world.
Hundreds
I'm
of people, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
Did you walk with them at some parts of the
Yep,
trail?
I kept meeting up with them at certain parts. There's certain areas we kind of walked together or ended up at the same camp at night, but for the most part, we kept bumping into each other.
Were there any nights where you were totally alone,
Yeah, there were quite a few.
where you camped alone? And but were there times when you walked all day with somebody and then camped that night with them?
How do I say this? Walking with somebody is you kind of always plan. You kind of hike your own hike at
Yeah,
your own
yeah,
pace. But
yeah.
we usually, talk. Say we're going to stop here tomorrow night, and then we ended up, maybe passing each other during the day, having lunch with each other, or snacked or something like that, and then everybody hiked their own hike again, and then meet up at the place where we're sleeping for the night.
Anybody you're still in contact with
Oh
from
yes,
that?
actually probably 100 to 120 people.
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
friends that I've
Right.
made that I still.
Wow.
And actually, there's you're still living in Cincinnati, right?
South of
South
Cincinnati,
of
15
Cincinnati.
miles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually have
Hmm.
a girl I met down from Cincinnati that I still, occasionally talk to, that I hike with.
What is that noisy bird that we keep hearing there in your
Oh,
woods?
they're getting excited about young ones or something. It's a
Oh, really?
crow. Yeah,
It's a
it's a crow.
crow.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
a
crow.
crow.
Yeah,
Well, he's really interfering with our interview, isn't
he
he?
is.
You got a gun? We
I
can shoot him out of
we
the
can
tree or
we can get him
something.
out of here.
Okay, well,
We'll do a little target
maybe
practice.
maybe he's excited about your trip
Yeah, he
too,
might be.
as
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I am. But okay, so the people, the difficulty was the rain and at times loneliness. The bright spot was the people that you met along the way that you're still friends with. And tell me about the last day and the last few steps.
Well, it really started in the last 3 days. I came
Uh,
around the White Peak Mountain up there, and I saw Mount Katahdin in the distance. Man, I got so emotional. It was so amazing. I just looked at that mountain and tears started running down my face. I knew it was that close, but it was still like 60 miles, 70 miles across the valley. And, didn't sleep much after those, when I saw the end. And
uh,
so I kept walking and walking till I couldn't go no more and tried to sleep and got a couple hours of sleep, but I was up by 3 o'clock and I started hiking again.
wow.
Till I couldn't go anymore. I did, I think, 20 some miles um, that third day before the end, and then the second day, 20 some miles again. And the last day to the base of the peak was 28 miles. I started hiking at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I hiked till I couldn't go anymore in the evening. It was 8 or 9 o'clock.
Wow. And there's a place at the top of that mountain, right?
Oh
There's a
yeah, yep.
flag or something that
No,
you'll.
there's a wooden sign there. It says Mount Katahdin, Baxter State Park, and I do have some pictures of that. Me
Wow.
posing with that sign.
Amazing. Amazing. Uh, couple follow-up questions here. What any kind of life lessons that you might point to, one or two or three life lessons that you're going to carry with you from that experience?
Yeah, there's the generosity of the people, complete strangers giving you rights, giving you foods, opening up their homes for you
Along the trail.
along the trail. You never,
Wow.
they just meet you out, at a parking lot. Hey, do you need something? We'll take you. Do you need a shower? Um,
Wow.
that was an eye opener. I just never expected that. But life lesson that I've got out of the
So
trail
they
was,
had water and food along the trail sometimes?
yeah,
People
it's
just
just
set it
trail.
out and you could pick it up, huh?
Trail magic, we call it. Yeah, we call it
Wow.
trail magic.
Nice people.
But the biggest life lesson I got out of the whole trip was in North Carolina. We got into this shelter, and here comes this older gentleman. I'm going to say mid to late 60s, and his name was Turtle. And he asked if we were hiking through, and I said, I'm going to try. And he says, are you hiking through? I said, I'm going to try. He says, no, that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear you say you're going to hike through. I said, well, I'm going to hike through. He says, that's what I want to hear. Fast forward. I didn't see him again
Hiking through means you're going the whole
for going,
distance,
yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so I didn't see him till just before we entered Maine. I stopped at a hostel for the night, and we went to town for resupply. And as the van load of hikers went through, one of them yelled, hey, there's Turtle. I hear he's quitting. And I said, Turtle's quitting? I said, stop the van. Stop the van. I said, he can't do that. So I got out there and said, Turtle, Turtle. And he stopped, and I said, hey, Turtle, it's me, Duo. You met me back in the Carolinas. I hear you're stopping. He says, yeah, I'm going home. He looked tired, worn out. I said, you can't do it. And I said, remember what you told me.
Mhm.
I'm going to hike through. No, he says, I gave up. I said, I'm going home. And I tried talking him into keeping on going, but he had his mind made up. But I crawled back in the van, went home. Afterwards, I thought, here was a guy trying to live a lifelong dream. He was within a couple hundred miles of finishing. And I could have helped him make it to the end by saying, hey, let me help you lighten your load. Let me carry some of your food. Even if it would have taken me a couple days longer, I could have helped him fulfill his dream. And that's what life is about, helping each other carry each other's burdens.
Mhm.
And trying to,
Wow.
yeah. So that was a lifelong lesson that I can carry with me for the rest of my life, and I share with a lot of people.
Oh, that's amazing. You called him Turtle. Do you
Yeah.
have trail names?
Yes, we do.
So everybody gets assigned a
Yep.
trail name.
But yeah,
you choose it yourself?
I did, but sometimes people just let some dumb things happen out there. One guy we named Mouse King because he had got a mouse in his sleeping bag at night, and he
Mouse
woke.
King.
Yeah, and he woke up screaming and woke up everybody else, and everybody's like, "What's going on?" And so we named him Mouse King.
What was yours?
Duo.
Duo.
Yeah, I started off with my son. There was the two of us, and he went home after 7 days, 10 days, something like that. I said I should have called myself Uno, but
Uno instead of
yeah,
Duo. Yeah.
but I didn't. Yeah, I stayed
I
with
would have
Duo.
thought that people would have called you like obviously they haven't found many Amish people out there hiking that
But
trail.
if you'd have seen me, you wouldn't really recognize me as Amish.
Okay.
Really,
All right.
because I kind of looked like one of them.
Prob-
Most of these guys had beards.
well, by the end of the trail, everybody looks Amish, right?
Yeah, they do. They really do. I mean, they're just
A little longer
scruffy,
hair,
yeah,
the beard,
scruffy
and the
beards.
rest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wow. Well, we're by an airport here, so we're going to get a landing behind us. You know, this has nothing to do with the hike, but our house over here, our former house,
Mm-hmm.
I know a year and a half ago or so, a plane crashed right in what would have been our front yard, and the guy
Yep,
died.
exactly. Two of them died.
Two of them died.
Yeah, the
Right,
pilot and the
almost
co-pilot.
your front yard, which
Yep.
was my side yard there.
Yeah, that was a horrible experience.
Yeah, it was. Well, look, Leroy, this is amazing. I just admire your strength, physical, mental, even a spiritual strength had to go with this. I mean, did you feel at times like you were really in touch with God out there on the trail and in nature alone? That
I
there
did.
were
I did.
times when
It was amazing. Um, there was times when you just kind of you just didn't feel that close to him. But I do remember one night in Vermont. I was just sleeping under the trees with no tent, just on the ground with my sleeping bag. And I woke up at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I could see up through the trees, and I just saw all these stars. And I was like, wow, thank you, God. And I fell back asleep. Yeah. And life changed. Yep.
Yeah. Is there anything you would say to somebody who might be contemplating, maybe they won't do 2,200 miles, but maybe they just want to do the 100 miles in the Smoky Mountain? And there's Smoky Mountain National Park.
Sure,
Isn't
sure.
there like 100 miles of it?
Yep, yep.
Go
A little
right
bit
through
more.
there.
Yep, exactly.
What would you say to somebody who's contemplating, some big task? I bicycled the state of Ohio last year from Cincinnati to Michigan. No big feat. It took me parts of 6
I
days.
could not imagine doing that.
But I met a lot of people too. I
I
stopped
know.
in small towns. I met a lot of people. And listen, with my back issues and stuff, it took a little bit of effort. And, I
Sure.
hiked the Jesus Trail in Israel, but that's like 40 miles or whatever. And by the way, I'm going to get my good friend here to come with me and hike
I
from
would
Dan to
love that.
Beersheba.
I would love
The
that.
biblical
That would be great.
Israel, like
Oh, my goodness.
10 days, 2 weeks. We'll meet,
That would
hike
be-
right through the.
That would be great, and to listen to the stories of things that happen through those parts. That would be awesome.
Okay. Any of you out there want to join Leroy and I do what would that be? About 2 weeks, we figured, a
Yeah,
hike.
probably.
Not 5 months, only 2 weeks.
Only 2 weeks. Yeah, 100
And
miles a
the
week.
Jews,
if
the
you're up to it, yeah.
Palestinians, all the
Mhm.
people we would meet, and of
that'd
course we would be passing many of the places where the biblical events happen. So that's in the works here with Leroy and I. I'm 58, he's 50, and he's gonna. Well, no, you're 52 now,
Yeah. Yep, 52.
but you're 6 years younger, so I'm counting on you to carry me in the tough
Absolutely,
spots.
absolutely.
You'll
I
pick
mean,
me up.
that's what I
You're-
just said,
yeah,
didn't I?
Yeah. All right. Anything you want to say to people listening to this? If they're contemplating some big challenge in their life, just any word.
Yes, actually, I do. I said, if you have a dream of doing something, go do it. Drop what you're doing. Life is too short to
Yeah.
waste your time on thinking about it. Just go do it. Drop what you're doing and go do these things that you want to do. It'll create a sense of inner peace in you.
Yeah.
It will accomplishment, and just to absolutely go do it.
If I could, I'd like to add just a little bit here to what you're saying. When you hit 50, 55, somebody's pointed out that you can kind of just settle in, keep doing what you're doing, stay comfortable, play it safe, or you can chase some dreams the second half of your life.
You can actually chase some dreams. You're right.
Yeah, they call it the second half,
Yeah. Is that chasing your dreams, or is that kind of what do they call that? The midlife crisis.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, it might be. But I do know that I gave up pastor work and teaching on campus at the college in 2017 because I had some things I really wanted to do
Sure.
the next 20 years. And so hence I went full-time into tour guiding, and I'm just doing so many things that I
great.
have dreamed about doing overseas as well as all over the U.S. And I tell you what, one of them dreams is either to bicycle or to walk. Now I'm getting soft. See, I thought about bicycling from Dan to Beersheba. That'd be the easy
That'd
thing.
be the easy thing for you. It wouldn't be so easy for me.
I'm
not that crazy about biking.
Oh,
I'd much
okay.
rather walk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We could work that out.
we
You
could.
walk and I bicycle alongside.
Well, I tell you what we could do. You could bike 2 miles, park the bike, then you start walking, and I'd pick up the bike and.
We could say we biked and walked.
Biked and hiked.
Yeah.
Biked and hiked.
But I'll tell you what,
Jesus
biblical
Trail.
characters, they didn't have bikes, so
No,
we're
they
going to
didn't.
have to walk probably
Yep.
some point.
Sandals,
Yeah.
barefoot.
We'll take our wives and they'll bring us food
Oh,
and
yeah.
refreshments,
Absolutely.
and
There you
go get the bed and breakfast for the night
Sure.
lined up for us. Well, anyway, it was great talking to you, my friend.
Well, thanks,
and
Dan.
we've had a 20-year friendship,
Yep.
and I know I moved away about 18 years ago, so it's longer than that. It's more like 25 years.
Is it really?
Well, we moved here in let me see. We moved here in '99, and then moved to Cincinnati in '01. But we kept coming back, so we've stayed in touch with each other for couple, 21 years or so. So
I can't believe it's been that long.
yeah, I mean we're gray haired.
I know.
I mean, I like
And
you
they
got a
get-
full head of nice gray hair. I don't
Really?
even have hair anymore,
wow.
hardly. So life's been a little tougher, I guess, for me than you.
Really? No,
I'm just
thought-
kidding. But anyway, great talking to you,
Yeah.
my friend, and just know that we admire what you've done and
Well,
are
thank
proud of the tremendous accomplishment.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.